before I leave. It's like I'm building a birthing circle, because when I'm by the ocean, the sound of the waves and the water remind me of how I chose to try to give birth, and how I was supported by a circle of women when I gave birth. I decided that I was going to do this method called Le Boyer, where you have underwater birthing, where you sit in a big hot tub and you move around and let your body sway and be back to like how the ocean is, because we have so much water inside of us that it's sort of a natural thing for the child to give birth this way. And I remember thinking, it sounds so fabulous, and I did it for 27 hours. I birthed in water. Sometimes I got out of the tub, I played classical music, and I had, candles, and it was amazing. But because of all the other stress and the pure fear that I had, I ended up having to go to the hospital and having a cesarean birth. I had been laboring for 27 hours with no drugs, and it was beautiful. My connection to the water, feeling the baby inside of me, and I was convinced I was going to be giving birth in the water. But I just got so exhausted that I thought maybe I was going to die. And the midwife said to me, just lay down. And I said, no, I can't. I'll die if I lay down and fall asleep. I'll never have the baby. And she said, no, you can take a nap, you can rest. And I said, I didn't think it was possible. So when you don't think it's possible, it's not possible. So they rushed me to Cedars-Sinai at about 3 a.m. and they shot me up with this epidural, which kind of freezes your nerves in the back of goes through your nervous system, your spine and your nervous system. And I was so feeling like I was overdosed on drugs that when they cut me open, I didn't feel a thing. I saw a lot of blood, but I didn't feel a lot. And I was very disappointed because I didn't like being high when I was about to give birth. And they asked me to hold the baby, and I was so afraid I was going to drop him that I said, no, 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 give him to the father, let him hold the baby. And my first birth, I basically kind of broke the circle. And I had my mom and my ex-husband, my husband at the time, and my brother in the operating room with the doctors. But it's the fear that didn't let me carry through. And a midwife once told me that a woman, how she gives birth, says a lot about her character and about who she is. So if for some reason she can't carry through to full birth, perhaps there's a place in her life where she's not carrying full and through. her life. Or perhaps if she's in such terror or fear like I was, perhaps even in her life she's in tremendous fear. And that was the case for me, but I hadn't quite realized it. And then my second child, I had a different midwife, and I decided to do it at home. It's called vaginal birth after cesarean, VBAC. And this midwife was very spiritual. She lived by the ashram up on a hill. We had a really strong connection. She told me the only way she could deliver a baby is to fall in love with the woman, that she had to love the women that she helped birth. And it was very interesting. You know, I felt much safer, much closer to her. I was doing a lot of Kundalini yoga. That's why this circle, you know, reminded me of the women who used to do yoga with me while we were prenatal. We did a lot of chanting. And my kids, to this day, when I put on chants on a tape, they must remember it from when they were in my stomach, because they suddenly calmed down. And they said, Mom, can you put that on again? You know, so they had this awareness, and they came in. My second child came into the world. He was born on my bed with my midwife and her labor coach helping. I pushed him right out. So it's like I broke that fear, and I was able to give birth and able to say no to the medical profession and yes to my own womanhood. And I think this is something that girls and women, you know, don't do enough of today. They schedule their cesarean birth so that they know when it's going to be, so they can be prepared. My sister-in-law said, I'm married to an anesthesiologist. How could I not get anesthesia and have it in the hospital? I said, oh, right. You can't think for yourself. You have to do what your husband believes in. Okay. But I just think it's amazing to sit by the ocean and have memories of birth because of that strong relationship to water and that time that I spent laboring with ocean wave sounds and classical sounds. And I think that it's important for women to talk about their birth to other women, because I think if someone had said to me, I was so scared, and then I took a nap, you know, maybe I could have taken a nap and come out okay and relaxed enough. But nobody really discussed that with me. And I wasn't that close to my first midwife, but my second one was a whole nother experience. And you know, I'd have a third. I realized that this body was made to have babies, and had I started younger, I would have had more, because the carrying of the child was a really sacred time, and being with the women in that circle where we discussed how we felt about having our children, what plans we had, singing songs to the babies while we had these 9 months together was great.
Sors du cadre et viens, tu vas venir t'asseoir là. Attends, sors.
These are for the children that I aborted. These are for the children I didn't have. And who knows, maybe 2 of them came back to me. And my 2 boys now that I have. It's amazing to think you're holding souls in your hands. Bless these souls that I let them go. And I bless them. The way of women to make circles of community wherever they go. And when you conceive in water, you conceive in a circle. And you conceive in these big tubs. To be a woman is beautiful. To give birth is a miracle. To live encircled by those you love is a life worth living.